Hey Cubs! This week's art project is going to be based on Cubism, a style of art that was made famous by Pablo Picasso. In our project, we're going to be drawing portraits, which are pictures of people's faces. So a quick definition of Cubism is making a picture that shows one object but looking at it from a lot of different angles or perspectives. The image you see here is not an example of Cubism. Instead, it is a way to show you what one face would look like from different angles or different perspectives. In a Cubist portrait, or a portrait that is drawn in the style of Cubism, you would not separate these different angles of the face. Instead, what you would do is combine some of these angles together onto one face. I'm going to show you 3 examples of Picasso portraits to show you what this looks like. Here is our first example. So you can see that first off, the eyes don't match at all. The nose looks like it's on the side of the face, but the eye is still above it. Another important thing to notice about this portrait is the crazy colors used. Our next portrait is similar. These eyes are at different levels. The nose, again, is on the side of the face. The ear is very close to one of the eyes, and the mouth appears to be off to the side. This is not a normal face, but it still has the parts that let us know that this is a person. The final example, I think, is going to be the best one to use for our project. What I really like about this example is if you look at the left eye, the eye is looking straight forward like it normally would. If you look at the right eye, it is looking towards the left eye. So it looks like the eye is actually turned. Our project will feature this. You'll notice again in this portrait, just like the last 2, the nose is on the side of the face. And this portrait shows you a pretty crazy Cubist hand. So to get started with your project, all you need is a piece of paper and something to draw with. You're probably going to want a pencil for this one because you may be doing some erasing. The truth is, for this Cubism project, there really isn't one way to do it. I'm going to show you 2 different examples of mine. The most important thing to remember when you're working on your Cubism portrait is it shouldn't look realistic and the parts shouldn't match. So for this current example, you can already see that the 2 ears in my portrait are not the same size at all, and they're also kind of different in their shape. I've added a neck and shoulders to my portrait because I don't necessarily want my head just floating in space. I'm going to move on to drawing the eyes in my portrait. Now remember those examples from earlier. These eyes are not going to look the same. Another thing is, when you're drawing in the style of Cubism, not only do the parts not need to match, so the 2 eyes can be different, even those eyes, they don't need to look super realistic. They can be a little bit odd. The first eye that I'm drawing right now, I'm drawing it as if the face is looking straight at you. So the eye looks just like a regular eye if you were looking at someone and they were right in front of you. Now that I've finished my first eye, I first need to decide where to put the other eye. And remember, since they don't need to be even, you could put a little higher or a little lower. I've decided I'm going to put my second eye a little lower than the first. I really liked the last example I showed you where one of the eyes was actually looking to the side, like you are looking at the side of that person's eye. So I've decided that's what I'm going to do with my second eye for this drawing. I'm going to now go ahead and put an eyebrow over that first eye that I drew. Instead of drawing the other eyebrow, I'm going to go ahead and move on and draw the nose. This nose, it can't match both of these eyes. The eyes are already drawn from two different angles, so you have a lot of freedom with your nose. You can do really whatever you want at this point. And remember, your nose does not need to look realistic. So the nose, the shape, looks like it's from the side, but the two nostrils I just added, it looks like you would see if the nose was looking at you. Kind of weird. And instead of drawing a regular eyebrow, I decided to have this nose connect up and curve to touch the top of the head. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a mouth. So again, this mouth does not have to make sense with the other parts of the face. The mouth is open, it is facing the right, and it looks like maybe it could be talking. There's a lot of space, so I'm going to go ahead and add some teeth. We don't have too much left to do with this one. I'm going to add some details to these ears. Since I've finished the ears, I'm going to add some hair to our portrait. There's no specific way that I'm choosing to do the hair. I'm going to make some basic shapes for, the size of the hair, and then I'm going to just add a line or two in each part so it looks like the hair has different sections. Last but not least, since I added the neck and the shoulders, I'm going to go ahead and add a shirt. Nothing too fancy, just added the collar and going to add just some lines so that it looks like the shirt has a simple pattern. My Cubism portrait is now complete. You can see that all of the parts that make a person's face are there. Eyes, nose, mouth, ears, eyebrows, hair, all of that. That's there. But they don't look realistic because they all look like parts of the face that are facing different ways. I'm going to show you a second example now. For this second example, I'm going to draw it in a different way. I'm actually going to start with the inside parts of the face, just to show you a different way to approach this project. My first part I'm drawing is my left eye, and I'm drawing it as if the eye is closed. Next up, I'm going to draw the right eye, and my goal with this example is to try to show you how you could draw these parts differently compared to the first example. So this eye is going to be facing forward, but I'm drawing it in a different style. It looks like it's maybe a little more tired. You can see the eyelid more. You can see like a bag under the eye, and I'm just adding more details inside. My preference when drawing a face is I always start with the parts of the face that are at the top and then move down the face. So of course I've drawn my eyes first, and right after that, going down your face is your nose. My goal is to make this nose look pretty different from the example I first drew. After the nose is, of course, the mouth. Again, I'm going to draw this mouth in a different style than the previous example I showed you. All right, I have the inside of the face done. With the other drawing, I started with the outside shape of the face. This one, we're going in the opposite direction. So now that all of the parts of the face are done, eyes, nose, mouth, I'm going to make up a shape that will go around this face, so what the head will look like. With the last drawing, I had this sort of curvy line that connected from the top of the head to the nose to the mouth to the chin, and I added that in this drawing as well. I just like how it looks. I think it adds even more to that Cubist style. I'm making sure that my person has 2 ears. Again, these are different from each other. And I'm going to, just like with the last drawing, going to add a neck and the shoulders. I'm going to add the hair next. I'm just going to pick what to do as I go. I'm almost finished, just one last line to get the hair done, and I do want to add a collar for a shirt, and this time I'm going to make it sort of wavy so it looks maybe like some kind of frilly sort of collar. I noticed I forgot the eyebrow over the left eye. Gonna go ahead and add an eyebrow now. Okay, so I'm all finished with this one now. This is just a second example of how to draw a portrait in the Cubism style. To really get these projects closer to a finished looking product, I'm going back to that first one I drew, and I'm going to use a Sharpie to trace over all of my pencil lines. So while I was recording the video for this project, it just stopped all of a sudden. So that is why we have jumped from me working on tracing my pencil lines to suddenly all of the tracing is done. I would definitely say that these projects looked best when they have color added, so I'm going to go ahead and paint mine in for you. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. This project is definitely good for all of our CCS students, so I hope to see a lot of your work. Please send me pictures of your Cubism projects, and I hope you have fun with it. Take care.